You wake up every morning feeling the crushing weight of the day's too. You chase success relentlessly, but it constantly escapes you. You spend your hard-earned money trying to buy comfort, yet that terrible anxiety never actually leaves you alone. You feel completely trapped in a dizzying and exhausting rat race that forces you to measure your worth by what you own rather than by what you can actually afford to walk away from.
So, why does chasing success feel like a never-ending trap? To find the truth, we really need to look at the trap itself. You live in a world that worships loud, fast consumption. Society completely tricks you into thinking that buying things brings comfort. You think holding on to shiny things is true wealth. But the bitter reality is that excitement is a dangerous, exhausting trap. Every single purchase that gives you an immediate rush in the moment is basically just charging you a massive emotional and financial interest rate on your future.
Just walk into a broke home, and you find it packed right to the ceiling. They have piles of new clothes with the price tag still attached. They have wildly expensive gym equipment quietly turning into coat racks. But the ultra-wealthy actually own remarkably less in their daily lives. Their possessions look oddly dull, feeling almost like a massive letdown when you first look at them, simply because true wealth never actually needs to scream for attention. Now, you might be wondering what this means. The crucial point here is that this dullness is completely intentional. 1. Excitement is a massive trap that keeps you financially stuck. Your brain constantly searches for an exciting, fast-paced, cinematic story. 2. You desperately want the flashing casino lights and the life-changing bet. 2. But any choice that gives you an immediate rush is actively stealing from your tomorrow. 1. True wealth is the complete opposite of a thrilling, high-stakes narrative where everything magically changes overnight. 2. And this brings us right to the core thesis of our explainer. Wealth has far more to do with what you stop reaching for. It's really about what you quietly pay money to completely avoid. You probably always thought wealth was about what you could grab, but true wealth is entirely about the heavy burdens, the noisy obligations, and the pointless distractions that you can finally afford to permanently subtract from your life. Let's dive into Principle 1, the power of boredom. Your brain desperately craves the massive dopamine of a big swing, but that excitement is actually an expensive mistake. The flashy bet or the hot coin is almost always the broke person's move. Instead, wealthy people put their money into incredibly unremarkable things. They buy index funds that literally do nothing for decades. They purchase a plain rental property in a very plain town. They leave cash in a savings account sitting like a sleepy dog. Nothing about any of these deliberately boring financial choices feels like winning in the present moment, which is exactly why they work so incredibly well over a long timeline. Excitement is highly expensive, but boredom quietly compounds over time. The broke person constantly searches for a cool, thrilling story to tell. True wealth is really just the exact same dull choice repeated endlessly. Time eventually does all the heavy lifting for your bank account. Think about it. When was the last time you actively picked the most boring option available and actually felt deeply proud of yourself instead of feeling totally cheated? Moving right along, we have Principle 2, decision surgery. This principle means paying money to permanently delete entire categories of exhausting daily choices from your life. 2. Notice how wealthy individuals often wear the exact same simple outfit for a decade, or eat the identical breakfast year after year. 1. Well, it isn't cheapness, it is pure ruthlessness. 1. Every single choice you make pulls a little energy out. 1. The physical act of deciding is secretly tiring for your brain. 1. Nobody ever warns you about this hidden daily energy drain. 1. Your daily decisions are an exhausting, invisible burden that slowly drains your mental battery until you have absolutely nothing left for the choices that actually matter. 1. A truly smart person will happily pay to never think about these things again. They hire a cleaner, so the house stops being a question. They buy a meal service, so dinner stops being a negotiation. They hire an assistant, so small fires just put themselves out. They gladly spend their hard-earned money to automate the trivial parts of their existence, completely removing any friction from their day. Now, to the outside world, this just looks like incredibly spoiled behavior. But it's actually a precise, ruthless surgery on their daily schedule. It systematically removes entire rooms of constant worry from their busy head. They eliminate all these tiny decisions just to keep their mind perfectly clear. They are meticulously protecting the one single room in their brain that truly matters, ensuring it remains totally empty and ready for deep, meaningful thought. Okay, here is Principle 3, guarding your attention. The entire purpose of deleting small decisions is to fiercely guard your focus. 1. The wealthy guard their attention like it's the only real currency that counts, because it genuinely is. A few years back, I watched a very wealthy man open his wallet and spend $40 to have someone assemble a really cheap desk. 1. I completely judged him for it at the time. 1. I honestly thought he was being lazy, soft, and totally spoiled. 1. But it took me an embarrassingly long time to finally understand that he saw something I couldn't see, and that thing was basically the whole entire game. He saw that his time and energy were his absolutely most valuable assets. 2. A broke version of me once spent prime hours arguing with parking apps. 1. I would routinely waste precious time comparing prices on very cheap socks. 1. The wealthy move is happily paying to skip these trivial tasks. 1. They gladly trade small amounts of cash to furiously guard their attention because they know that protecting their focus is the ultimate investment that just doesn't ever show up in flashy photos. 2. Finally, we reach principle 4. The ultimate luxury. This one might be the hardest to swallow, but the single most expensive thing money can buy isn't a shiny car, a massive house, or a luxury watch. It's the unblinking ability to just turn things down. Freedom is just the slow pile of no's a person can finally afford. True freedom is completely owning your own time and your own choices. It is the silent, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you do not ever have to compromise your peace of mind for a simple paycheck. You basically build a portfolio of no's. You say no to the client who treats you like furniture. You say no to the friend who only calls during a raging fire. You say no to the deal that smells wrong despite the money. Every single yes you hand over out of fear is a brutal tax. Every time you say yes when you actually mean no, you are paying a terrible tax that slowly bankrupts your soul and quietly steals your most precious hours. People always assume the ultra-wealthy buy their freedom with their very last dollar, but it actually runs the other way entirely in real life. Freedom is the thing they bought first, in tiny, deeply unglamorous increments. Building a small emergency fund is a foundational piece of true freedom. Turning down draining work and completely owning your hours is true freedom, even if it happens long before anyone ever dares to call you rich. All of this leads us to the ultimate realization. Wealth was never really about the flashy spending or the loud outward display. It is entirely about what you absolutely refuse to spend yourself on. The pointless-looking purchases are only pointless to someone measuring the totally wrong thing. True wealth is always found in the quiet, absolute confidence of knowing exactly what you will not tolerate. Quiet consistently beats loud, and plain choices consistently beat thrilling ones. 1. Nobody ever feels incredibly rich on the day they can finally afford boredom. 1. It actually feels like nothing at all in that exact moment. 1. But one morning you look up and suddenly realize that the quiet nothingness was the whole point the entire time. The utter silence and absolute mental calm are a profound luxury that very few people will ever truly understand or achieve. 2. So, what would you actually do with your mind if half of it wasn't busy babysitting pure nonsense? Once you subtract the noise, you finally have the empty space to build something real that actually lasts. Remember that your absolute freedom begins the exact moment you finally stop buying things to impress people you do not even care about.